All right. Yeah, I'll just open it up for questions.
Anything better or worse come from the review than how you felt immediately after the game?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it was pretty much kind of, as I looked at it, obviously, look, we won a game in our league by, 3 touchdowns. So it obviously wasn't all bad. There were some things that we've got to, improve on. I do think there's still some things that, like, have stood out to me, like our red zone offense has been much better the last 2 weeks. I think we're 7 out of our last 8 in terms of being able to score, touchdowns in the red area. I think that's improved. I thought our pass defense was really good in the game, and I thought, from the standpoint of just being able to win the field position battle, I thought that was a huge factor in the game. I mean, our starting field position ended up being the 43-yard line. Theirs was the 23-yard line. So we played a significant portion of the game on their end of the field. Now, I think still third down has to be better, really on both sides of the ball. I think that was a contributing factor to us kind of losing the time of possession battle. A lot of those third downs, particularly on defense, came on third and short, which is where we actually had been, pretty good in that area, but we didn't stop them on 3rd and 1. I think they were 5 of 5, on 3rd and 1, and so they were able to keep some drives away, keep some drives alive that way. Overall defensively, I thought, they were 3.8 yards per offensive play. So the problem was they had, too many plays, and we didn't have enough plays. And I think third down was a big factor in that.
Last night was too early to ask you about Zach Vaughn, so I wanted to ask again. Now you've got to see the film. How did he grade out with what felt like a more focused?
Yeah, look, I mean, that was kind of the plan, was to focusing more on, being a rusher. I think he's been effective in that role. I think there's some times where he's gotten back there, got the quarterback off the spot, and then some things that don't really even show up. That's something that we've kind of lacked a little bit is when we do get the quarterback off the spot and the quarterback does get outside the pocket, he's got the speed and athleticism to, force the throwaway rather than, it ended up being a quarterback scramble or something of that nature. So I just think having a little bit more athleticism, I think, has been beneficial for us in terms of, trying to be able to rush the passer.
You did feel comfortable last night saying that, there was a possibility or a great possibility that we would see more of sort of the pass rushing role from him moving forward. Is there a reason that he didn't fit into that role before?
Well, look, I mean, I think his linebacker snaps have become a little bit more limited, and so that opens him up a little bit more to that pass rushing role. I don't see him as a full-time defensive end, because I just think from a size standpoint that's difficult to do at that size. Play a full-time defensive end position, particularly in the run game, things like that. So, when you get teams into a little bit more of a passing situation, there's a bigger role for that player.
And is that why you feel that the linebacker snaps have become more limited? Is that, you mentioned that?
Well, look, I think some of that has to do with, I thought Nephi Sewell came in and played really well last week, and I think he earned more opportunities to play the linebacker position. Now, they played the whole game in sub offense, which limited our ability to get Nephi in there a little bit more. But I think you'll see Nephi probably play a little bit more in our regular packages with when they get into 12, 21, those type of personnel groupings.
How much of that too is you guys are maybe looking for a solution to spark that pass rush and that?
Well, I think I think that's part of it, right? I mean, we kind of went through a significant portion of the season, and that, well, we're not getting to the quarterback as much as we need to, and yet we've had some spurts throughout my time here where we haven't sacked the quarterback as well, and then all of a sudden we have a few of those breakout type games. So, but that's part of it is we feel like we've got to affect the quarterback more. I feel like we've kind of been able to do that. We did that, in this past game, and don't know that our sack numbers were where, you would have liked for them to be against Detroit, but I do think there was some, a little bit more effect on the passer in terms of the rush.
And it looked like Brian Brzee kind of shook up on that last defensive play of the game. Is there?
Yeah, look, I mean, kind of hurt his shoulder, but everything really checked out fine. So, based on the information that I have today from the trainers, we don't really think that's going to be an issue.
Was Groupie's leg bothering him? Not just the field goal, but his kickoffs didn't seem to be as deep.
Well, look, that's been something that he's been dealing with the last, couple of weeks, and it's limited his, his ability on kickoffs a little bit. But I think that's going to continue to get better.
I know we asked this after the game, but reviewing it and talking with Derek after and how he felt, I mean, did he feel limited physically in any way?
Yeah, look, he certainly wasn't, in my mind, 100%. But he was more than healthy enough to go out there and play. It wasn't his best performance. It wasn't our best performance offensively. So we've got to make some corrections, and fortunately we get to do that off a win, and now we get ready for New York.
I know last night you were asked about Jimmy Graham. You say you don't want to dwell on the past, but when he has 3 touchdowns on 5 targets, I mean, what is the explanation for what you haven't seen from him to give him more than 5 targets?
Yeah, I mean, the number of snaps that he's played has been limited, even in the last couple of games. The one thing that we feel like, man, there's an area of the field that we feel like this player can help us, and that's in the red area. And he's done that the last couple of weeks. And but there's a lot of other snaps that go along in the game other than just the red area. So I think we got to continue to look at that balance. But I think he's, I think he's earned the right to, get some more snaps.
And what while being fair to the player, I mean, is he not an effective enough blocker? Is the speed when there's a lot of field in front of him to run deeper routes?
Yeah,
I mean, what is it that keeps him off the field?
I think we've got some players at that position that have kind of defined roles and things that they can do, and really it's kind of ends up being about opportunities. Jimmy's gone out the last couple of weeks and had gotten more opportunities. He's taken advantage of those opportunities. So when you do that, I think you should get more. So I think that's what we'll look at as we move forward.
Not to fully reprise the Derek Carr and Eric McCoy thing, but just so that it's addressed, was there any additional conversation that has taken place between you and either player or the team in regards to that?
Yeah. We'll keep those conversations in-house, but yeah, I think that whole thing's been addressed, and I think it's time to move forward from there.
Fair to say that everything, not to pander for the details or hammer for the details, but fair to say that it was come away in a positive
We're in a
light
good spot
after all.
moving forward.
Great.
Yeah.
With Blake's missed kick, was it just the leg that you mentioned before, or what did you see on kind of the miss?
Well, look, I don't think the whole operation was very good. I mean, snap, hold, kick. I thought all of it was not very good. So I think all 3 elements had a part in that kick not going through. And look, you get a field goal of that distance inside of what it is for an extra point. That's really inexcusable. So we've got to be better there.
He's missed another one inside there. I think that same distance as well. I know you stress patience with a guy like that, but when it's that close, does that change the patience factor?
Listen, I mean, he understands that he needs to kick the ball through the uprights. I think we all know that. I think he's a really talented young kicker. Sometimes with young players at any position, you're going to have some ups and downs. I've seen a number of kickers in our league that have had early struggles that are extremely talented and gone on to have exceptional careers. So we're going to let him fight through some of these struggles a little bit, and hopefully he'll continue to get better, and we'll have some more consistency.
And obviously the season doesn't have the nice clean even quarters anymore, but last quarter of the season now, do you typically want to see out of our football team kind of during the home stretch?
Yeah, look, I mean, our mindset last week was, going 1-0 and just focusing on Carolina and winning a game at home against Carolina. That was our focus last week. Our focus this week is going to be on the New York Giants and trying to win that game at home. And we're not going to look too far into the future about anything else. We're going to focus on the task at hand, and try to go to the Dome and get another win.
You're missing 2 starters in the secondary, and yet it looked like a lot of guys had good coverage yesterday. Just talk about that unit.
Yeah, look, I mean, I thought our pass defense was awesome in the game. I thought our guys got up and challenged. There's a couple of plays, obviously, that we'd all like to have back. But I thought for the most part, there's a lot of contested throws. And I thought our guys, got up and competed against them and challenged them at the line of scrimmage. And, I think those, when you're able to get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback and you're able to challenge at the line of scrimmage, it leads to some pretty good results. We had a number of, opportunities on the ball. I do think there was probably a couple opportunities I thought maybe we could have taken advantage of and turned into interceptions, but I thought overall the pass defense was really good.
Dennis, can you speak to their ability just to make plays on the ball? I think you got 3 guys in the top 20 of the NFL right now in passes defense, and one of them is Yadam, who hasn't played a ton this year. So.
Yeah, well, look, I think that, really has been a position that we've had some depth at. Ike's come in and done a really good job when he's been called upon to go in and play. And, for you to be able to make plays on the ball, you have to put yourself in position, to make plays on the ball. And I think the style that our guys play, it's a aggressive kind of get up on you type of style. And, leads to us being, tight in coverage a lot and guys making plays on the ball. So I think they work extremely hard on that. I think, Joe and Marcus and the rest of the guys that work with the secondary, they put an emphasis on it. And I think our guys have improved in that area.
Can you talk about being tied for the division and how, I know every game's important, but it seems like those division games down the stretch are going to be extremely
They'll be extremely important if we take care of business this week against the Giants. You know what I mean? So I think kind of in answer to your question, Ed, is like, the margin for error is extremely small right now, and we need to make sure we're taking advantage of every opportunity. And so we need to focus in on the Giants and trying to get a win against those guys this week.
Where did you see that really limited the offense's production on Sunday?
Yeah, look, I think there was a number of things. I thought the biggest thing is I don't think we ever really, and I said this last night, we never really got into a good rhythm in the passing game. Look, in visiting with Pete, there's some things that we probably could have and would have done, a little bit differently. I think particularly our drop back passing. I thought some of the things that we were able to do play action wise, there were some things there that we took advantage of. I think, drop back passing, I didn't think we were as good as we needed to be, whether it be throwing it, catching it, protecting it. There's a lot of factors that go involved in that, but I thought that was an area that we struggled in, yes.
Was it, I know you specified a couple of the elements of it, but what happened maybe with the blocking scheme, with the play designs? I know you said their defense was really good in the past, but in what specificities did they restrain you from being able to do how you?
Well, look, yeah, I mean, I think they got a couple of guys that can rush the passer, which created some challenges. There was a little bit of knockback at times. And then I thought they had some tight coverage in some areas that we didn't get completions in. So, and then when we did get completions underneath, I thought they did a pretty good job of coming up and making tackles. So, we knew it was going to be a challenge trying to throw the ball against those guys, particularly with some of the weapons that we, didn't have available to us or not quite at 100%. But yeah, we didn't do a good enough job in the drop back passing game, but yet we made enough plays to win the game.
And how much of a boost is it both for your defense and special teams to know that when the
Well, I think that's what you have to do, you know. There's a lot of times you play games and not all three phases are operating at, the level that we need them to operate at. And so the other phases have to be able to pick up the slack. And I thought defensively and in the kicking game, I thought we were able to do that yesterday.
Putting aside,
I know everyone knows it's a tough league, it's a tough game, but do you think, looking back on it, do you think that the last few months have been harder than even you would expect? Do you ever get frustrated by that at all, or?
Yeah, look, I mean, you get frustrated with not, coming away with the victories. That gets frustrating. But yeah, this league is hard, and we were just talking today. I mean, I think there's 13 teams that are within one game of 500 in our league. So almost half the league is, sitting in that position, and that's the way our league is designed. And that's the way our league is, and we've got to find a way to create a few more opportunities for ourselves so that we end up winning some of these games. And that's the difference between, being a playoff team and not a playoff team.
putting aside like what happened after the play with McCoy and Carr, but could you just kind of take us through the sack and what led to? Did they blitz well? Did you miss a protect?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we just got beat. We just got beat, and their guy made a nice play, and he beat us, got back there and got a sack. So sometimes that happens, but it wasn't a missed assignment. We just got beat.
When you don't have Taysom, does that complicate the game plan? Because you don't have another one of those that you can just plug in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if complicate the game plan is the right word. And yet, look, in every game and every game plan, you're trying to figure out ways that you can utilize your players to put yourself in the best position to have success. And certainly, Taysom's a player that we've had a lot of success with in the things that he can do. And I think he puts a lot of stress on the opponent, whether it be him, as the personal protector on the punt team, or whether it be him lining up, as a tight end, or lining up in the backfield, or lining up at the quarterback position. I just think, there's a lot of preparation that goes along with all of that stuff. And so I think when you don't have a weapon like that, I think, I don't know if it complicates our game plan more, but it simplifies their game plan a little bit more.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. I was talking about.
We've seen a couple of times this season Jameis come out to do the kneel downs, and I believe it was earlier on in the season we saw Derek do it early on. Is there like a criteria that leads to that decision at all?
There's not really anything involved in that. Yeah, I mean, we just put Jameis out there to go take those snaps, so that's all it was.
Derek mentioned that he had 2 previous rib fractures. I can't remember if ribs was ever on the injury report, but when did they occur, and why was it not?
Yeah, I really don't know the answer to that. I'm going to assume that this, all started back in Green Bay, but I can't give you an answer to that because I don't know the exact answer. I mean, as to when it was.
I assume that means, though, that ribs were never something that took him out of a practice snap or made him questionable.
No, it's really been, the shoulder or the concussion.
Dennis,
Go ahead, Ed.
Coach, it's not often you win in this league when you give up 204 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Well, how big a negative was that, do you think, and how fixable is it?
Well, look, in terms of run defense, I'd say the number one thing we've got to do is we've got to do a better job in terms of space tackling. When you really look at the game, there's a couple opportunities that we have a chance to get a player, whether it be the quarterback or whether it be the running back or whether it be the receiver on the reverse, that we have potential opportunities to get a guy down in space. And I think that's really where we've, had our biggest issues is space tackling. And so, look, we've got to continue to work on that, where we can get guys down in a, open environment and minimize gains. Because when you look at our run defense, you'd say there's a lot of plays that are really good. And then we have, a couple of plays that we miss a tackle in space, and those are things that become, explosive plays. So I do think that we need to be better in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage, knocking the line of scrimmage back, being able to get off blocks. I think that's something that we have to be better at. I think, it's hard to win in our league when a team is one-dimensional, So whether it be they're one-dimensional in the passing game and they're gaining a lot of passing yards and they can't run the ball, or vice versa, which I think was the case in the game yesterday. They were a one-dimensional team. They were able to run the ball a little bit. But I also think that's, difficult to score a lot of points just through the running game. You're going to have to throw the ball in our league to score any significant amount of points. So is it a concern? Yeah, it's a concern. We need to be better there. But I thought overall, look, they were 3.8 yards per offensive play. So, overall it was a pretty good defensive performance.
So it's not guys getting blown up front like you.
No. Now, can they be better there? Absolutely. I think the longest run, I don't think we fit it up exactly how we needed to. We have an opportunity to get a guy down at about, 10 or 12 yards, and you don't like that, but yet, you can survive. But we got to minimize those being, 40 or 50 yard gains.
Dennis, Lynn Bowden's not like a guy you look at his frame and say he's like your blocking receiver, but like yesterday you guys motioned him into the backfield and had him lead block on an inside run. Like, what is it that makes him capable in that arena?
Yeah, look, number one is willingness. You know what I mean? Like that's the number one factor in that, is you got to be willing to do those things. And I think he's tough. I think he's competitive. I think he's willing to do whatever we ask him to do, to try to help us win. So, and I appreciate that about him.
Are you able to take us through what happened with the challenge? It's hard to tell from up in the press box.
Yeah. So, well, we didn't get a great view of it, and I got a view of it right prior to the snap, and I threw a freaking lob up there rather than just slamming it on the ground, and didn't get it out in time. And it was really, I was basing it off of one look that I got on the Jumbotron right before the snap, and it looked to me like he had the ball in the left hand, and it's where the ball crosses the sideline, so I thought he was short. But we really didn't have a good view upstairs, and, if I'd have done a better job of just, getting it out and throwing it on the ground rather than this freaking lob I put up there, we might have gotten it.
While we're talking about officiating, what's the...
Don't get me in trouble.
No, I don't think I will.
All right.
What's the threshold where a rugby punter forfeits the ability to be rough?
Yeah, it's kind of like the quarterback when he's on the move and throwing the ball. He's got the two-step protection. You can't hit him in the head or neck area. I think we got to. I want to get with the league on that and have them kind of explain to me what they saw on that play. You can't go in there and just, the thing that I thought it was a little late. I thought it was after the two steps, and so we'll get an answer from the league on what they thought.
Can I ask, as far as like you said, all these teams are around 500. Have you given much thought to what it takes to break out? If that's, I don't know if that's the right term, but what it takes to elevate from that?
Yeah, look, it really takes, everybody doing their job. And it sounds simple, it sounds cliche, it sounds whatever you want it to be, but that's really what it's about. It's about, consistent execution. And because, in our league, it's these games come down to one score, much like most of the games that we've played end up coming down to one score. And so, a fundamental, a technique, a play here or there makes the big difference. So, it's not some miraculous formula that kind of puts you over the top. It's really just, coaches, players, everybody doing their job at the level that's needed to be done at.
Dennis, what are you seeing from teams in the last couple of games as far as maybe copying each other to attack your defense in the run game?
I don't know that I see anything that, of significance that, that we're seeing the same plays over and over. I don't think I'm seeing a lot of that, and yet, it's pretty standard in our league in terms of the run game. They're gonna. We got a lot of the stretch zone running game, crunch as we call it, because they brought the tight end back to seal the edge. So that was a big part of what their running game was, this week, and we've seen that play throughout the course of the season. It's pretty standard in our league.
Has that play worked a lot against your defense, or is it kind of just a toss-up between the instances?
Well, I think there's been sometimes that it's been a good play, and sometimes that it hadn't been a good play.
Did you go back?
Yeah, one time for one more.
Did you go back and review to see if you think you would have won that challenge?
I think I would have won it. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think I would have won it. I think it was about half a yard short. So we'd have then had to, defend fourth down, right? So, which we were, I would have taken my chances. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.